What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to another Resplendent review. This time we have got Mia and I'll be going over the best builds that you can run on her for different game modes, and at the end I'll also have a special bonus segment. So Mia is a Gen 1 sword infantry unit with Resolute Blade as her preferred weapon. This is a pretty old refine, like 3 years old, so it's definitely quite outdated at this point. It just gives her +3 attack and deals 10 true damage whenever she can trigger a special. And then, as you can see, it has got a pretty outdated effect that can only scale up to +7 true damage depending on the difference between her speed stat and the opponent. And nowadays, units can get a lot better true damage out of their weapons. So yeah, this weapon is honestly not all that good compared to a lot of the older units that got the weapon refined, like Carla and Ira for example. And both of them can get the extra speed out of the weapon, while Mia gets absolutely no stats out of her weapon. And both of these units also have -1 special cooldown, so they can use Time Pulse and Vital Astra, which Mia cannot really do. We also have units that can also have the Resplendent stats, and they can pretty much function similarly to Mia's level. Longku, I would say that is pretty much like a free-to-play Mia in a sense, even though he lacks the raw physical bulk, but still he is pretty comparable in terms of the speed. And then Leaf also has much better defense. And we also have units who can just use Arcane Jötunheimr like her from the last gen, so the Resplendent stats definitely bring her up to the speed with some of the modern units essentially. And we did get some pretty nice weapon refines on Rutger, so both of these units can get the extra speed even though they do not have the base speed of Mia. And in the case of Holst, he can also get the guard effect just like Arcane Jötunheimr while also getting the bonus doubler effect. And Rutger does get the damage reduction out of his weapon and also +10 speed, so he can definitely function pretty well as a free-to-play unit. So as you saw, she can definitely keep up with the metagame in terms of the speed and can definitely make use of Vital Astra and Godlike Reflexes. Mia already had base 40 speed, and now with the Resplendent stats she has got base 42 speed. And even though she doesn't really have the most useful super boons, she can still have a pretty usable bulk at max investment with the damage reduction skills. Now honestly, with the sword infantry units, there is an unending amount of competition, so it is pretty hard for her to compete in that. So you are only going to be building her up if you really like her as a character, and if you do, then we do have Arcane Jötunheimr, so yeah, that is definitely helpful. And she does have a pretty lackluster weapon refine, so if we get more good inheritable swords that she can make use of, or especially an Arcane Sword that is geared towards fast units, then that is going to be the best case scenario for Mia. But as it stands right now, she can definitely function pretty well if you're a big fan of her. She's definitely going to be taking a lot of premium fodder, a lot of flowers, like you would expect out of any kind of Gen 1 unit. Resplendent Mia can definitely be used on a budget for limited hero battles or for arena assault, and you can just have the budget Fury Desperation build and then have Speed Smoke so that she can get more true damage out of her weapon. Not the best build for sure, but this is definitely something you could do on the budget. And if you don't really want to run Luna and Flashing Blade, then this is an option to actually increase her speed, which is definitely going to be needed as her weapon just does not give her any kind of extra stats. We can also invest into Mia for capitalizing on the true damage aspect of Resolute Blade. It doesn't really give any kind of stats again, so it is not the most ideal weapon, but if you really want to stack up the true damage, then you can run her with attack speed finish 4, which can give you 5 true damage on the special trigger, and you can also run Spurn, which can definitely give her even more true damage. And keep in mind that Spurn's activation is actually pretty dynamic. So in the combat, if you fall below the threshold of Spurn, you can immediately get the true damage in the combat itself, even if you're going to be healing up the HP later on with the finish skill. So it can definitely work out with this build, and she can get the damage reduction out of Spurn and Speed Smoke 4, and you can also get the true damage. But if you want to invest heavily into her, then I would definitely suggest you to use Arcane Jötunheimr instead, because it's a much better weapon, and it does provide you with the guard effect, the -1 special cooldown which can make Vital Astra into a 1-turn special, so you can easily pre-charge it with Time Pulse yourself, or even have it with the support of Infantry Pulse units or something like Duo Chrom or Asker. It's incredibly easy to pre-charge a 1 cooldown special, so that could be done with Arcane Jötunheimr. And it also provides you with essentially pseudo null follow-up. So with the fast units, because of the follow-up negation effect and the auto follow-up that you can get, you essentially use it as a pseudo null follow-up if you're fast enough. And Mia's definitely going to be fast enough than a lot of the units, so she can definitely make use of this, and you wouldn't really have to run null follow-up in her slot B or Sacred Seal. and that way you can use some other skills. So attack speed ideal is available in the divine codes, and if you do pull an extra Shez, then she can definitely take that bulwark skill and the oath force skill, which can give her even more stats. And the bulwark skill does have pretty good synergy with the ideal skill for the healing. So overall, this build does have good synergy. You're definitely going to be needing some premium units, but she can definitely work out really well if you give these skills. You can also run her with attack speed finish 4. That is pretty much going to be the most premium slotted skill that you could run on her because it provides you with healing, it has very generous condition, and you can also run this with velocity and Vital Astra. So with Vital Astra and Time Pulse, you can pre-charge it, and when you have Vital Astra pre-charge with the Null Guard of Velocity, you can pretty much trigger it twice in a single round of combat, which is really good for the damage output and for killing a lot of the threats. And because the condition of finish kill is pretty generous, you can definitely run the Form Sacred Seal or even the Solo Sacred Seal. It really depends on her, so this is going to be a pretty standard high investment build for her with the finish kill. And it's just really good because we already have pseudo null follow-up with her weapon, so we can try and get the Null Guard from Velocity. You can also run her with Godlike Reflexes because she definitely has the speed to make use of this, and you can run this with Distant Pressure so that she can not only get the extra speed in the enemy phase but also in the player phase. Bulwark skill can pretty much compensate for the chip damage that we're going to be taking, and you can heal up 2 HP on top of that. So yeah, not the best self-sustained, but this can definitely work out if you want to get the speed in the player phase. But if you just want to get these stats in the enemy phase with no chip damage, then Distant Dart is an option. And with Speed Smoke 4, you can get the damage reduction on top of Godlike Reflexes. And because Godlike Reflexes is a defensive special, it is not going to be getting pierced by Deadeye or Lethality, so it can definitely work well if you're trying to run Distant Dart or Distant Pressure on her. And unfortunately, because she's not someone like Flame Tribe Lyn or Ascended Marita, she will need to have some kind of special acceleration. So you can run her with Flashing Blade, or if you give her support of Thor or Brave Lucina, that could definitely work out. You can also run her in Summoner Duels, especially in Summoner Duels S at max investment, and obviously in Book 3 and prior metagame, where she's definitely going to be really fast. So you can run the finish skill and the bulwark skill to get the extra healing, and you can also be within 3 spaces of your allies, while also abusing bonus doubler and also having Vital Astra pre-charged, hopefully with some kind of support. So whenever Might of Myriads is a captain skill, she can definitely function insanely well with this kind of build, as would any kind of max investment unit with this kind of stats. So that is going to be really helpful if you just want to grind up the favorite level or use her in Summoner Duels as your, raid boss unit. You can also try and support her with Legendary Eliwood for Summoner Duels S, where she can get even more stats, get the Canto 1, and also have Null Panic. So that is going to be really good with the bonus doubler. Speed IV is definitely going to be most important with her when she's running Vital Astra, Godlike Reflexes, the speed-based damage reduction skills. But if you want to ascend her, then Attack IV is also pretty good so that you can, just have the kills on many of the modern units, which are going to be pretty bulky. And they will also have damage reduction, and in many cases, the true damage reduction with their defense. You can also use her in Aether Raid's offense. So in Aether Raid's Chaos, she could definitely work with a Farseer tank, or even as an Omni tank. It's definitely a bit more workable in the Chaos season, but I would definitely recommend to use her with a Farseer tank because as it is, in the Chaos season you can only use one save unit, and by having a Farseer unit, you're going to be able to protect your team from getting sniped. So Mia can pretty much take on the melee matchups like Brave Seliph, and with the Unity skill, she's not really going to be caring about the attack and speed debuffs from something like Bright Shrine or many of the other skills. Speed Smoke 4 can give her more damage reduction along with Vital Astra, which you can definitely try and pre-charge so that she can have the damage reduction on her first combat. If you're trying to use Mia on a Gale Force team as a Wings of Mercy unit, then you can definitely try and run Florid Cane Plus, and she can easily run Null Follow-Up and pretty much break through a lot of the follow-up negation units. And with the Florid Cane, the Canto is definitely going to be really useful for the positioning, and the Oath Force skill is also good so that you can have the extra offenses. She can also be used as an initiator in the Aether Raid's Light Season, where she could be used with Winter Bernadetta or with Brave Lysithea for their friendly fire damage, which can enable the usage of Reciprocal Aid or Ardent Sacrifice, so you can just fall into the range of Frenzy and Brazen attack speed, which is really helpful. And Arcane Euthymia giving you that pseudo null follow-up is definitely going to be helping you in matchups against Medius and a lot of the other safe tanks. So Medius can definitely die to Mia if he's not super optimized, but if a Medius is optimized, she would definitely require some support to kill him with like resonant shields from Masker or like sabotage defense debuff from Air that is running the Temari dagger. So that is all going to be useful for Mia for taking on that Medius matchup, where he can definitely be really bulky and pretty hard for a lot of Gale Force initiators to kill. And you can definitely run even Tempest so that you can have that extra movement on turn 2. And if you're initiating on turn 3 with like Ardent Sacrifice, then Odd Tempest can definitely work out. Finally, when it comes to Arena, you can run her with R-Duel Infantry 4, and you can use her weapon, the default weapon, to get that true damage on Vital Astra. So if you don't really have Arcane Elutnir, then this is an option, but Arcane Elutnir is pretty much going to be giving her the best performance because obviously it has got a lot of stats, and that is really useful when you're running R-Duel Infantry 4, which really does not give you any kind of real effects that are very helpful in the combat. So you can try and run Velocity so that you can retaliate back with Vital Astra, and you can also run Attack Speed Oath 4, which is going to be helping you tremendously, not only with the combat but also for positioning and teleporting, which is really helpful in Arena. And if you just want to have the max scoring possible with Mia, then you can run her with her default weapon and have a tier 4 slot B skill like Mystic Boost 4. So Arcane Elutnir unfortunately doesn't score as high as a legendary weapon. So for the max scoring, you're going to be needing her default weapon. So with this build, she can basically score like a 185 BST unit. So it really depends on your Arena team and the priorities that you have if you want to have the better performance or the better scoring. Mia is definitely a fan favorite unit, so if I had to improve her weapon refine, I would give her the following things. Now, she definitely has a lot of competition, but I've tried to make her a bit more unique. So I would still keep the +3 attack and the 10 true damage that she triggers, but unlike Carla having null follow-up or Ira having the tempo effect and the damage reduction, Mia is all about those specials. So with this weapon refine, she's able to get +5 to all of her stats and also special spiral after the combat. So with special spiral, it pretty much means that you can keep your Vital Astra pre-charged, and you can also use her as a Vantage unit, which definitely opens up some playstyles which other Sword Infantry units from Gen 1 can already do. Now, she's not going to be the most effective Vantage unit, but she can definitely work out, and she can definitely work out when she gets even more stats with her weapon refine, and actually gets an effect which can pierce through the damage reduction of the other Sword Infantry units. So this way she can definitely stand out as a Sword Infantry unit by piercing through the damage reduction of the other Sword Infantry units and also having special spiral and getting the true damage out of her weapon. Let me know what you think about my refined theorycraft, because if Mia had got a more modern weapon refine, she would definitely be in the leagues of Ira and Carla at the very least with how they are with their weapon refines, but unfortunately Mia definitely got it a lot earlier. So hope you all enjoyed this video. Make sure to share this video with your friends who are trying to build up Mia. And if you enjoyed, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps me tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member down below as well. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the concept of Brave Redux banner where Mia came in. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.